What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Going the Distance podcast presented by ImmaculateSports.com. Twitter's at ImacSports.
Instagram is also at Max Sports.
TikTok, YouTube, Immaculate Sports. It's episode 251, and another week with a lot of craziness going on. Back to baseball, too, Kyle. Talk about some awards. Almost at that midseason point, almost to the All-Star game. It's July 1st. And some craziness in the NBA. We'll at least check in on it, talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, this episode's more of a mid-season check-in for the MLB year as far as awards go, playoff predictions, stuff like that. So we get to do a fun kind of status check for all the teams in the MLB, at least the teams in the top half, that is. Second half, we'll talk about the NBA moves a little bit. We'll probably get more into that next week and look at the pros and cons and winners and losers of most of these deals. But it's been a crazy last 24 hours in the NBA. It feels like you definitely have to keep your eyes peeled for Shams notifications and other stuff going on as well, too. In the NFL, even, we've had some crazy stuff happen the last day with Darren Waller coming back, huge Minka Fitzpatrick, Jalen Ramsey trade that we saw yesterday morning.
That's right. That happened too.
But we'll get right into our opener. And I'm going to once again mention Jacob Wilson because why not? And I'm going to keep on doing it. And I will definitely mention it next week if this thing I'm about to talk about follows through. And Jacob Wilson edging closer to starting the All-Star game at shortstop, which would be really cool just for an A's player in general to win the fan vote, but a rookie shortstop in the American League has never happened. To start the All-Star game, and Jacob Wilson could obviously be the first one. Voting ends tomorrow. He's already in the second round of it, where it's just him and Bobby Witt competing for that top spot. Pretty sure the check-in yesterday revealed that Jacob Wilson is, as of right now, the number one, but obviously things can change. So I know we don't have a ton of pull here, but if you are listening to this and it's not announced yet, go vote for Jacob Wilson to get in. And hopefully he does get to start the All-Star game, because that'd be a cool thing for today's team that really hasn't gotten to experience much good this year.
Absolutely. My opener is going to be the NBA draft. That was last Wednesday night, and it was another one of those classic round one nights where business as usual at the beginning. Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper go 1-2 like we expect. And then Ace Bailey starts to fall a little bit, but it's Utah at 5. That's where Ace Bailey goes. He had a couple of people that were representing him say weird stuff about Utah, but it sounds like they figured things out. He's there. Of course, this Danny Ainge is the only one who has the balls to take it, which is cool. And it's just like every other draft, right? Things are going normal, and then all of a sudden, the bad teams do really weird stuff. You have Brooklyn has 5 picks in the first round. They don't trade any of them for any players. They end up trading Cam Johnson, too, yesterday. We'll get into that later. But they take a bunch of point guards who can't shoot. Yegor Demon, I like him, but playing with Nolan Traore, who knows, man. Phoenix, they trade for Mark Williams. Perk is having a pretty good talk about like how you need to bring in a veteran center to a team because Devin Booker really needs a guy who knows what he's doing. And then they draft Kaman Malawach, too. So they double down. That was interesting. Cedric Howard goes 11 to Memphis. They trade up for him. New Orleans, they want another pick. Derek Queen's there. They trade for him, which is okay, but they trade next year's first-round pick. So if they're going to be bad, then Atlanta is going to have a lottery pick and a really loaded class with A.J. DeBonsa. Then Yang Hansen, I think is how you actually pronounce it. Yang, I knew about him. I just didn't know he'd go 16 to Portland. So that was an interesting one. And then, of course, we end off that tier of the first round with Miami getting a steal. Kasparis, Yakachunas, 6'6" combo guard. It seems like a pretty good fit over there. Overall, just really fun to see the usuals just keep dominating the draft. And obviously the game's won on the court, but in terms of value, some teams definitely had some slip-ups in the first round.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting also seeing the whole Ace Bailey debacle, and you don't really get those like not reporting situations anymore in the NBA, where we're getting one right now in the NFL with Shamar Stewart and the Bengals, of course. But in the NBA, I don't remember last time we've seen something like that. And I mean, obviously he's there now in Utah, so it seems like things are starting to work out there. But maybe at first a bit of a puzzling decision for both sides on that one. As we move into, though, our player pitcher rookie in the week, as we take a step back from basketball for a second, we'll get back into it in the later half of the show. But going to our player pitcher rookie of the week, as we always do, start off with the player of the week. Skyler, who do you choose here?
My player of the week is one of my all-time favorites, Sonny Gray. 9 innings, shutout, complete game, 89 pitches, 11 strikeouts, 1 base runner allowed. Unfortunately, that 1 base runner was a hit, that close to history again, but this was still one of the best pitched games over the past couple of years. Cleveland couldn't do anything against a potential future Hall of Fame case. Remember that?
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Yeah, my player of the week as well is also going to be Sonny Gray. I didn't want to put him as my opener because then we would have just been talking about him nonstop here in the first couple of minutes. But this was probably the coolest thing that I saw this past week. His complete game shutout on national television, I guess technically being on Apple TV. Like you said, only 1 hit allowed, no runs, no walks, 11 strikeouts, under 90 pitches. And watching the post-game interview, Sonny Gray is not really a guy that gives you much in interviews and whatnot, nor are most baseball players. But a very interesting situation as an A's fan talking or listening to Sonny Gray talk, because he said about 10 years ago, I think it was 2015, it is like one of his last few times pitching in Cleveland. Stephen Vogt was his catcher. Obviously had a crazy game. Going into this game, before he threw his first pitch, him and Stephen Vogt kind of like made eye contact with a little tip of the hat, kind of acknowledging one another. Obviously, that means something to us as A's fans. It's pretty cool to see those two guys in their relationship and how they go back. But yeah, it seemed like a cool moment for Sonny Gray, a cool moment as a just Sonny Gray fan in general, for a guy that we hope continues to work well into his late 30s and maybe pushes a potential Cooperstown case. On to pitcher of the week, we know what this one is. I feel like it's pretty obvious. There were some other ones as well, too. Tariq Skubal had a great Sunday night performance. But I guess we could just hop right into rookie of the week.
Yeah, I was just going to say Skubal and Wheeler dominant as usual as well.
Yeah.
So rookie of the week, Jacob Misiorowski just outdueled Paul Skeens. Nick Kurtz is still looking like an all-star level power hitter after missing half of the season. So for the second time now, I'm going to give them co-wins.
I'm going to go with Misiorowski on this one. I went with Kurtz last week, I want to say, and then Kurtz the week before that. And it could have been Kurtz this week as well, too. Also could have been Augustine Ramirez. I think he had a really good week with the Marlins. But Misiorowski, 5 shutout innings against Paul Skeens and the Pirates. 2 hits allowed, 2 walks, 8 Ks. He's becoming one of those dudes, and I thought about this a few nights ago as far as like where my pitcher power rankings would be on like must-see TV type guys. Like, if this guy's starting, I want to watch that game type people, and where I would rank certain people. I still think Skeens would be number 1, but Misiorowski might be in my top 5 now at this point. So he's a guy to watch each time that he goes out there, and he's been good in all 3 of his outings so far in the big leagues. Now moving on to our top 15 power rankings that we do every other week. I don't have anybody that I really want to talk about outside of my top 15. Maybe the Red Sox just missed after their slow post-Devers era beginning. But any teams that you want to talk about that didn't make your top 15?
Yeah, 2, I guess, blue bloods of the century, you could say. Boston and Texas are back out.
All right, number 15 for you, Skyler. Who do you choose?
Yeah, at 15, it's the San Francisco Giants falling from the top of the mountain. They were at 7 last time, and they showed us the potential, right? When they're at full strength, what they are capable of doing, and then they go out and get swept by Miami. They just can't score runs. Devers is ice cold. He had a platinum sombrero last night, and Ramos, their other all-star hopeful, has been just as cold as him. So LA was right there in striking distance. Now it's an 8-game lead again.
Number 15 for me is going to be where I slot the Cincinnati Reds. First time that they've been on the list in a little while for me, moving up from unranked, of course. They go 7-6. Had a weird weekend against San Diego with a crazy game from Nick Martinez. Spencer Steer had a 3-homer game as well, too. Ellie De La Cruz has been playing like an MVP level candidate over the past month or so. And the Reds, above 500 under Terry Francona, get into my top 15. On to number 14.
Yeah, at 14, it is the Cincinnati Reds. First time, long time, right? The Big Red Machine's been hovering around 500, but after some great series wins against San Diego and the Yankees, they have this NL Central race getting extra tight all the way from Chicago down to fourth place where they are. So they're still in the hunt.
Number 14 for me is also a formerly unranked team. It's the team that had the most wins over the past 2 weeks. That's the St. Louis Cardinals. Sorry, they go 10-4, post a 3.73 ERA, which is fourth over in the MLB during that time. Partially due to Sonny Gray and how good he's been, but they've been getting good starts from pretty much whoever they've thrown out there. The bullpen's been solid as well too, and they've got a lot of timely hitting. A couple of walk-offs during that stretch, I'm pretty sure. Number 13.
Yeah, at 13, it's the St. Louis Cardinals. They're back on the list for me because they have 47 wins. They're right back in the hunt, too. I was a little skeptical, but at the moment, they are looking like a top 10 lineup, possibly top 10 rotation now, which usually means you belong in here. And again, shout out to Sonny Gray.
Weird team for number 13 is a team that moved up 11 spots last time that we talked, and now they moved down 10 spots for me here. It's the San Francisco Giants. They go 4-9, 86 team WRC plus, which was 24th in the big leagues during that time. Their 9 homers was tied for 29th in the big leagues over that stretch. The Giants offense has been puzzlingly bad this year. I thought it'd get a bit better once they had a guy who has a 900 OPS this season, but somehow got worse. And the Giants moved back down, and the NOS seems a lot harder to grab than what it did just a few weeks ago. Now on to number 12.
At number 12, I got Toronto. They're going up one spot. Don't look now, but they're only a game behind Tampa Bay. And they got the number 3 batting average in baseball so far. They just haven't really been able to put it all together. Of course, that's kind of what they do. But at least they've been playing teams like the Yankees, Red Sox, Phillies really tough this month, so I didn't drop them.
Number 12 is where I slot Toronto as well. They will only move down one spot. They were 8-5 in the past 2 weeks going into today. They played a weird Tuesday day game because of Canada Day. So I guess technically 9-5 now with the past 2 weeks. Offense is interesting. Pitching's deep. So they only moved down one spot despite having a good little 2 week stretch here and only being a game out of the AL East now. On to number 11.
At number 11 is where I got the Seattle Mariners. They're going to move up one spot. They're always one of the most confusing teams in baseball, but they survive another 2 week stretch without imploding. So they're still in place for a wild card spot at the moment. They can always pitch, but will somebody outside of Cal Raleigh step up too?
I also have the Seattle Mariners at number 11. They move up 3 spots for me. They go 8-5 over the past 2 weeks. They're pitching, which has been lackluster at some points this year. Posted 7th best ERA in the MLB this past 2 weeks. Their offense has been kicking it as well too a little bit. 126 WRC plus, which is 6th in the big league over that time. You know, mainly because of Cal Raleigh, but also some other guys having a couple of good games in there. So they move up 3 spots and creeping back into the close to the top 10 in my power rankings once again. On to number 10.
At number 10 is where I got the San Diego Padres. I'm going to drop them down a couple spots. Seems like they've been around 10-10 for the past month because they're not scoring a lot of runs. Luckily for them, they have a lot more star power than your usual 500 team. So I think they're going to get back on track. That's why I haven't dropped them too low. But they're not in a wild card spot at the moment.
My number 10 team, also the San Diego Padres. They move down one spot for me. They go 6-7 over a 2 week stretch. Offense really just hasn't been there this season for them. The pitching has kind of slowed down a little bit from what it was in the beginning part of the season, partially because Michael King being out, but they still hold on to a top 10 spot. On to number 9.
At number 9, it is the New York Mets. I'm dropping them down from the 2 spot. That's -7. And I was under the impression that the Mets just had that one hill to get over early in the season, but they've hit a really rough slide again here. And the truth is, they just got their asses kicked by Pittsburgh. So they're going to have to regain my trust again. That Griffin Canning injury was disgusting too. So they might actually have to trade for a couple guys.
Switching it up here, my number 9 team is not the Mets. It is going to be the Tampa Bay Rays. They move down one spot for me. They go 7-6 over this stretch with a weird 134 WRC plus, which was third in the big leagues, but also a 5.56 ERA, which was 27th in the big leagues. So kind of uncharacteristic for the Rays. Maybe the ERA is a little bit thrown out because they allowed 22 runs to the Orioles on Friday night. But besides that, another 2-week stretch where they posted an above 500 record, which is working for these teams that are trying to get to a wild card spot in the AL. Now on to number 8.
At number 8, it's the Milwaukee Brewers, up 3 spots from last time, and they've been killing it. They've been taking care of business. 8 out of 10 wins over the past week and a half or so, and they're just dominating all the Central teams. They've been playing St. Louis really tough. They just won a series against the Cubbies. The Pirates and Rockies are no match to them. They smacked them this week, and Mizorowski, pretty big help.
Number 8 for me is where I do slot the Mets. They moved down 4 spots for me, going 3-10 over the last 2 weeks. They posted the worst ERA in the big leagues during this time, a 6.34 ERA, with an offense in the bottom 10. So those obviously aren't the greatest 2 combinations. One bright spot is Juan Soto, though. He's been kicking it, and those early, low 700 OPS crazy talk that we were getting from John Hammond and all these other dudes in the beginning part of the season is definitely gone now. But now they got a whole bunch of other stuff to write about. So New York media will never fail. Number 7.
At number 7, it's the Tampa Bay Rays, +2. Pretty good, right? They've been killing it on the road. They're a team just like the A's that don't have a home right now. We're watching them play at George Steinbrenner Field, and I feel terrible for them, but you know what? They're not making excuses. They have one of the best rotations in baseball, and they've scored more runs than anybody in our division. So it's hard to complain. They definitely don't look like frauds anymore.
Number 7 is where I have the Milwaukee Brewers. They get a big +5 jump after a killer 2-week stretch, going 8-3, posting the 3rd best ERA in baseball, the best K per 9 in baseball at 10.3. And a WRC plus at 140, which is second in MLB during that stretch as well, too. We talked about the Milwaukee Brewers always kind of being a team that has the ability to just find pitchers out of nowhere. Mizorowski wasn't really out of nowhere. He's been a big prospect for a while now, but their hitting was the big question for them this year. And these past 2 weeks, it's been there for them. And that's why they've been winning a ton of games. On to number 6.
At number 6, it's the Yankees. I am going to drop them down 1 spot. They've been playing 500 ball, not really taking care of business like some of the other teams. I'm not that worried, though. The one thing I'd keep an eye on, though, is a lot of the rental pitchers they've had are starting to not have a 1.5 ERA every single outing. So maybe that's another team that's going to go after a starter. But the guys that are there, Fried, Rodon, et cetera, are definitely fine. And they score a bunch of runs.
Number 6 is where I have the Chicago Cubs. They do not move a spot for me. They remain in the 6th spot, go 5-7 over the 2-week stretch. They do struggle pitching, which has been an issue for them for most of the year. 28th team ERA. They get Shota Imanaga back, so hopefully that will help for them. But their offense, after a rough couple of weeks, they get back on it. Hit the most homers in baseball of 27. Post the 4th best team at WRC plus. And the Cubs offense is just doing what the Cubs offense does. On to number 5.
I am going to move the Cubbies up 1 spot. I'm going to swap them with the Yankees because I don't think the Cubs were playing at their full potential last month. But when anyone in the lineup can go off for a 4-hit game, like you just hinted at, that's going to make up for it. Some struggles against Houston, Milwaukee, St. Louis have them looking vulnerable in the Central, but I think they've earned some tenure in the top 5 here, and I think I'm just a little more comfortable with them over the Yankees.
Number 5 is where I slot the Philadelphia Phillies. They move up 2 spots for me after being at number 7 a couple of weeks ago. They only go 7-6 over this 2-week stretch, but they post the best ERA in baseball at a 2.81. And Bryce Harper just came back yesterday, so that'll help as well. Of course, Phillies get back into the top 5. That's all there really is to it. On to number 4.
At 4, I'm keeping those Phillies at the 4 spot, because I'm not worried about them compared to their rivals in the East. I mean, like I mentioned, I have a weird relationship with watching the Mets at the moment. So Philly is night and day to them. They take 2 out of 3 against the Cubs, so I'm going to move them up over them. Great 2-week stretch. Bryce Harper's back too, like you said. So coming back to a 50-win team, one of the more dominant rotations we've seen this season with all the injuries. I am loving what I'm seeing from Philly.
Number 4 is where I slot the Yankees. They move up one spot. They go 6-7 over the past 2 weeks. That could be 6-8 now if you include today. ERA was pretty the past 2 weeks. Wasn't pretty today. They gave up 12 runs, but second best league-wide ERA as far as their team goes over the past 2 weeks. Is good enough to move them up one spot in the rankings. On to our top 3.
Oh, Kyle, at number 3, moving up 7 spots, it's the Houston Astros. And I cannot believe we're back here again already, but they just swept the Phillies. They take 2 out of 3 of the Cubs. They got 50 wins, man. Third best in baseball. Can they survive without Jeremy Pena? Find out in 2 weeks here on Immaculate Sports.
Moving up 7 spots for me as well, too, are the Houston Astros. They go 9-3 over the past 2 weeks. Feels crazy to think that, this team is back at the top of the MLB as far as, or they're not at the top, but the top, echelon of MLB teams goes. They post the 6th best ERA in the league. They go tied for 4th in homers with 21. Like you said, Jeremy Pena being out now with a fractured rib or whatever it is, multiple ribs maybe, could be interesting. We'll see how that goes for them and how they weather the storm of missing their biggest star player. But they've been great, and they have 50 wins, which is crazy. On to number 2.
At 2, it's the Tigers. I'll finally move them up. I've had them at 3 forever, but they have the same record as our number 1 team without $1 billion payroll. So it's time to give them their due diligence here. Questionable lineup of the past is now a top 5 group in runs. So just imagine if they didn't lose Jackson Jobe and Reese Olson, they maybe had 60 wins by now. That's the only thing holding them back.
Yeah, Tigers don't move at all. They pretty much stay where they've been the past month and a half at the 2 spot. They go 7-5. They post a league best 142 WRC plus, hit 21 homers, which was tied for 4th. And they've navigated just a ton of injuries as well on the pitching staff as well too. Maybe not as much as the number 1 team, but definitely how to deal with some injuries, some starters, and now Jackson Jobe out for the season as well too. But we moved to the number 1 team, and that number 1 team has been there for a while.
Yep, LA Dodgers tied for that best record in baseball while using what's basically a 3-man rotation right now. And it's the same old trusty lineup. They're still number 1 in average, hits, homers, runs, basically everything with the lineup. So they're staying at the top.
Yeah, Dodgers, they go 9-3. They remain in the number 1 spot. They got their DH throwing 101.7 miles per hour. So LA holds down the number 1 spot as they have the whole year for me. I don't think any other team has been number 1. Now we move into our award check-in. This is our second check-in that we've done this year. We did one at the quarter season mark. We're doing one at the half midway season mark. We're doing top 3 for each MVP and Cy Young, and then winners for Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, and Reliever of the Year. We will start off with the AL MVP, which is always fun. Anybody outside of the top 3 that you want to mention before we get into that top 3?
No, I think there's 3.
All right. Let's get it started with number 3 then.
All right. We'll kick it off with Tarek Skubal. Just unbelievable here. I think we have to seriously consider him for this award this year. And like I mentioned, I think it is a 3-man race. There's 3 guys doing something we've never really seen before. Skubal's side of things, he had that Verlander record when he finished out the game with 102. He's absolutely filthy. He's playing mind tricks with hitters every game. He started off the other game with the changeup. Did you hear that story? Buxton was sitting on the fastball and completely fooled him. Yeah. It's I just love watching Skubal. I think he's number 3.
Yeah, Tarek Skubal's my number 3 as well too. The thing I mentioned earlier, where it's like must see pitchers, Tarek Skubal is 1 or 2 with Paul Skeens right now. He's the only pitcher that can compete with Judge and Cal Raleigh. 4.3 WAR would be first of all players in the National League, and it isn't first in Yale because of a couple other guys with a 2.15 ERA, a 1.98 FIP. Like, he's doing it all right now. He's as good, he's as valuable as a pitcher can be in the modern era of baseball, I'd say. On number 2.
At number 2, a bit of a shocker here. It's Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, the man who has the highest OPS in baseball, 30 homers, hitting 358 currently. I have him number 2. There's a great reason for that, of course, and we'll get to that. But that is Christopher Morel.
Yeah,
nice to see you again, sir. Anyways, Aaron Judge is unbelievable. He is one of those guys that seems to be getting better and better and better throughout his age without the steroids. So he's an all-time great. Of course, he's going to be in the top 3 all season.
My number 2, drum roll please, is also Aaron Judge. He has 30 homers. He has the league best WRC plus at 219, league best WAR at 6.3. But I feel like there's something this isn't quite being taken into account when we look at the MVP and WAR and stat and just the physical toll of something else that we'll get into when we talk about the number 1 guy, which is
that's Cal Raleigh, Seattle Mariners. What position does he play again?
He's a catcher. I have that in all caps.
Yeah, he has 33 home runs this season, breaking all of Johnny Bench's records while playing a fantastic catcher behind the dish. One of the best framers that we've ever seen with the metrics. 33 homers, most ribbies. I don't know. I think the only thing you can be upset about is maybe some of the strikeout numbers, but it's still not even it's 53 walks to 89 Ks. So I'm not complaining. He's even stolen 9 bases, dude. I think during the past 2 weeks, he's had a little stolen base streak. At least that's what I hear from my Mariners fan friend Dilly. So that's definitely my pick at the moment, Cal Raleigh, because I don't think we've ever seen this before, man. Joe Mauer didn't hit 33 homers in an All-Star break.
In a season.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm going Cal Raleigh, number 1 as well, too. He's first in the big leagues in homers, first in RBIs with 71, second in the whole league in WRC plus at 188. He's second in total WAR, just behind Aaron Judge. And just the physical demand of being a catcher and the demand of what it takes to control pitching staff, what it takes to just be behind the plate for 3 hours every single night is a lot. And to be the second best offensive output dude in the entire league just doesn't happen. And that's why it's never happened in the big leagues. We've seen MVP seasons from catchers before, but if this season continues on the pace that it's at right now, we are looking at the best catcher season ever, all time in MLB history.
Yep.
Which takes us to the NL side now of the MVP. And is there anybody outside of your top 3 that you wanted to mention?
I feel like this race is a lot more wide open. I think we should mention Kyle Tucker, James Wood, Trey Turner, and the guy I have winning the Cy Young. I won't mention his name yet, though, since it's not important. Yeah.
All right. I have one honorable mention that maybe you put on your list, maybe you didn't. Ronald Acuna
forgot to put him. Definitely
a ridiculous season in the first 30 or 40 games that he's played this year. If it was, beginning of the season and everybody was playing the same amount of games that he's played, I think he'd definitely be number 1 in WAR right now in the NL. Just crazy story, him coming back from a second torn ACL and put on a show right now. And I think, once he gets 100 total games under him by the end of the season, hopefully, we're going to look at it and say, yeah, Ronald Acuna is a top 3 in this award for sure. But
if it's possible for him to qualify?
I forget. I think isn't it 3.1 plate appearances
so we don't even
per team game? So I'm not sure if he could even get there. Maybe since he's hitting first, he's probably averaging 5 plate appearances a night. But I don't know the math on that. Maybe he could by the end of the year. Regardless, he might still hit fucking 40 homers. So who cares? Anyways, on number 3, who do you have?
We'll start off with Ellie De La Cruz. I've had my questions about him, but he's played 85 games and only gotten better each game. In the National League, he's top 10 in homers, stolen bases, hits, and he's second in runs. So I feel like we need to honor him for being available and kind of being the leader of this team that's at least starting to get a little better.
I wanted to put Ellie, but I think if we're 2 weeks on the line and we did this, I think he'd crack the list. But as of right now, I'm still going to have Pete Crow Armstrong as my number 3. This is the guy who I had as my NL MVP when we did our first check-in. Now he's started more in the National League. He's got 21 homers, 25 stolen bases, so a very legitimate chance to get 40-40 season while playing platinum glove level defense in center field, not just gold glove level, platinum glove level defense in center field. Really a 5-tool player, fun to watch, one of the most exciting players in the entire league. Number 2.
At number 2, I have Pete Crow Armstrong here. It's very possible that he finishes with a higher WAR than number 1, which is crazy because this guy wasn't supposed to hit this well. And he's a true 5-star demon right now. I like watching him play. And untapped potential with him for sure.
Number 2 is where I select Kyle Tucker. He's second in WAR in the National League right now, only behind one guy. 17 homers, 20 stolen bases, so another very legitimate chance to go 40-40. He's striking out less than he walks right now. 157 WRC plus is up there amongst the best in the National League. Going into a free agency year, this year that Kyle Tucker's having, and just the career Kyle Tucker's having, is going to make it so he's probably going to get $500 million this offseason. Number 1.
Shohei Ohtani, currently that guy that leads the National League in WAR. He's only trailing Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge in basically any type of hitting category you want to talk about. And he is also back on the mound, which is just crazy, even though it's only – I've seen some people, and we all know those guys that watch a little baseball, been on a game once a week, but they don't really know what Shohei Ohtani had to go through to get back on the mound for that one inning. So, yeah, it's a big deal, man. It's a massive deal.
Yeah. Shohei's number 1. First in WAR, first in homers in the National League, first in WRC+. Throws 101.9 miles per hour. Like, in the positive for WAR as a pitcher is now, as well now too, only, with 4 innings pitched, but still he's gonna pitch more. He's gonna hit more homers. I'm interested to see how the offense production goes with his time now being back on the mound as the starts to get longer, and how they try to weave in some off days maybe for him. Maybe $700 million means that you don't get off days, but I'm sure the Dodgers will find a way to make sure that he's good and healthy as things go on throughout the season, because they are now starting to open up that lead in the NL West for sure. Moving on to our AL Cy Young now. A ton of good choices here. I didn't have anybody that I was going to mention, my honorable mention, so.
Sure, we'll get right into it then. At number 3, I'll start it off with Framber Valdez because I think he's pitched 2 of the best games I've watched this season, 2 complete games, really dominant. He's 5th in Ks in the AL, but I'm sure once he gets some more innings under his belt, he'll be maybe not at Crochet level for the K leader, but just really good stuff from a guy I thought maybe would hit a decline at his age, and he hasn't. Kind of like the Chris Sale of the AL, maybe, if he continues to stay healthy.
Number 3 is where I slot Hunter Brown. Framber Valdez's teammate. His 3.0 WAR is 3rd among AL pitchers right now. His 1.74 ERA is 1st. 10.8 K per 9. His 98 innings pitched is 10 innings lower than the rest of the guys on this list for me, and that's why he's only 3rd. But as far as the effective innings, Hunter Brown's right up there at the top of any pitcher in the big leagues right now. Number 2.
All right, at number 2, I'm going Garrett Crochet of Boston. Talk about being right up at the top. This guy leads all of baseball in strikeouts in his first full season as a starter. 2.2 ERA. Full 18 starts, too. No issues with the innings at all. No issues with the walks. I think this is exactly what we asked for when we both talked about Garrett Crochet being a massive riser this season.
Garrett Crochet, my number 2 as well, too. Most innings pitched in the big leagues right now at 115.1. 3.6 WAR is second among AL starters. 11.24 K per 9 leads to the most strikeouts in the league, like you said. Like he's it feels okay. I felt like we went through a 3, 4, 5 year stretch where just about every single pitcher in the league was babied. No matter what you were, if you were an ace, if you were, a rookie, if you were a veteran, like you wouldn't pitch into the seventh inning. That wasn't a thing that was happening. Now it feels like we're getting a solid 10 to 15 guys that are just go until the walls fall off, go until the wheels fall off. And Garrett Crochet is one of those guys. Number one guy is definitely a number type of those guys. And all three of those dudes that I will mention for the NL Cy Young is quite up that alley as well too. But Garrett Crochet this year feels like the most out of all of them. Like the chance that he got to complete the complete game shutout against the Yankees in Boston a couple of weeks ago. I know he gave up the massive homer to Judge, but he had like 115 pitches at that point. Like, how often are we seeing guys even go out there for that? Rarely. I feel like we're starting to get back to that now. It's a badass thing to see as someone who enjoys really cool pitching. And Garrett Crochet is the bulldog of all bulldogs right now. And number one.
Yeah, it's the guy we talk about every week, Tarek Skubal, the heart and soul of the Tigers. If it's not Javi Baez still, because this guy's got a 2.15 ERA, only a start behind Crochet. And after he does make that start, he will be the leader in strikeouts in baseball. Super dominant. He's got that complete game shutout too.
Yeah. Also, he will be the likely leader in innings pitched as well too once he gets that start. What's special for him, more K per nine than Crochet, while also having the second best walk per nine in baseball at 1.12. That's the most staggering thing about him, is that he's just not walking anybody. He's going right after people. That's why he's been able to get so deep into games. He's so fun to watch, so electric on the mound. Just maybe it's his delivery as well too. I don't think it'll go down as as iconic as Kershaw, but like he's got a fun, unique delivery to go with it, and his stuff is so damn good, man. It's fun to watch. Now on to the NL side. Anybody you want to mention before we get into it?
Yeah, Chris Sale, of course, I've mentioned all the time here. He just misses. Mackenzie Gore, crazy strikeout machine now, and I will hold off on the other one until I say my number three.
All right, get right into it.
All right, number three, it's not going to be Logan Webb. I'm going to give it to Yoshinobu Yamamoto. If I had an actual vote, I would definitely take Logan Webb. Innings pitched, right? That guy is, talk about a machine. Logan Webb is the machine, but I feel like Yamamoto has kind of gone under the radar this season just because he missed a start or two. I think he had a 15-day IL stint. And then right after that, he's right back into it, 2.6 ERA. He still made 16 starts. He's throwing a lot of strikes. He's at that 100K threshold. And if the Dodgers didn't have this guy, they might actually be in some serious trouble here. So that's why I chose him.
My number three is going to be the guy who's just a perennial number three Cy Young vote guy, and that's Zach Wheeler. I don't even really need to say his stats. Like, you know what he is at this point. He's the guy that eats innings. He's the guy that dominates people. He gets a ton of strikeouts. It's just Zach Wheeler being Zach Wheeler, and it always feels like he lands between 2 to 5 in the NL Cy Young voting. Number two.
At number two, I have Paul Skeens. Don't get mad at me. We'll get more into it when we get to number one. But Paul Skeens is right there. I think this is a two-man race at the moment. I think I'm missing someone from your side, so we'll get into it. Maybe it just is Logan Webb, and I'm just a dick for not putting him on the list. But Paul Skeens is doing everything he's being asked to. There's another guy who's still going along. And I'll pause right there.
My number two is Logan Webb. His 3.5 WAR is first among NL pitchers right now. His 113.2 innings pitches also first. He's got one of the best K rates he's ever posted, if not the best, at over 10 now at this point. Walk rate is under 1.9 in this season per 9 innings. ERA at 2.61, BIP at 2.31. I mean, I've said this before. Like, if I were to make an ace, I'd make a guy like Logan Webb just because he's, 8 innings here, 8 innings there, 7 innings there. Like, he just gets deep in every single game that he plays. and he's super efficient at what he does. Understands the objective isn't to strike everybody out. It's to get outs. It's to prevent runs. And this year, he's also striking everybody out. So Logan Webb, number 2. And the winner of the midway part in the NL Cy race is
everyone's going to have Paul Skeens, but I think this is Zach Wheeler's award to lose this season because they basically have the same numbers, and Wheeler's got about 20 Ks on him. Trust me, this isn't like a win-loss thing. I know better than that. I think this is a Zach Wheeler thing. He's a guy who is, like you mentioned, the perennial number 3. I think we should start taking a step back. Maybe when we watch Zach Wheeler pitch, we don't think of the Mets days. Let's just look at what he's doing right now. This is a 35-plus-year-old just dominating everybody, every single. Talk about a guy who goes deep into games. It seems like he's always going 8 innings as well. So at the halfway point, I'm going to give it to Zach Wheeler. And if something crazy happens to Paul Skeens and we look back and be like, oh man, he should have had that one, then we'll complain about it. But on a year-to-year basis, I think we should just look at the numbers.
Okay. Paul Skeens is my number 1.
Yeah.
3.4 WAR so far, 106 innings pitched, 2.12 ERA, 2.5 FIP. He's halfway through his start versus the Cardinals right now. I'm looking at it. 4 innings pitched, no runs, 1 walk, 4 Ks, and how many pitches? 75. So he might go 6 in this one. But Paul Skeens just seems like we haven't seen a blow-up start from him ever. And I know his last start against Milwaukee, I think he got 4 runs in 5 innings, and that feels like the worst that you could possibly see with Paul Skeens. Like, it doesn't get any worse than that with him. And while it doesn't get, go bad for Wheeler or Webb often, I feel like he's really the only guy that there is no blow-up start. There is no way that he just has a bad outing. That just isn't something with him. I think it's the first of many Cy Youngs that we see with him for one of probably going to be one of the greatest pitchers that we see in this era of baseball. On to the rookies of the year. Paul Skeens is not eligible for this one. AL Rookie of the Year. Got a smile on my face because I think you know who this is.
Yeah, it's clearly going to be Jacob Wilson, one of the quickest races to 100 hits by a rookie I've ever seen. And it was a rough week. I think I saw he was like 197 for the week, but he's allowed to have one bad week. He's a rookie. He's going to be right back out there just getting on base, just like Billy Beane wanted, man.
Yeah, Jacob Wilson, my rookie of the year as well, too. That one's easy. You don't really need to even go over stats because he's pretty much punishing everybody when it comes down to it, except for homers, I guess. But Jacob Wilson, rookie of the year so far, midway through. On to the NL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, there's some good ones. Mizorowski, I'm sure, will be on pace for this if he finishes the season. Baldwin's been good. Kasperius, you've mentioned a couple times. But I'm going to go with Mizorowski's teammate, Chad Patrick. So stepping up big time for Milwaukee, the new look Brewers. He's got a 3.5 ERA, and he's made 17 starts too. He's been there the whole season. A lot of weird trades. They've lost guys like Hader and Williams in the pen, and then even the trade for Nestor was kind of weird. But guys like this are we keep the team alive and at 47 wins and in the hunt. So I'll shout out Chad Patrick, but it's really a placeholder for Jacob Mizorowski.
Yeah, the Brewers seem to have a ton of young pitchers, whether it's Chad Patrick, Logan Henderson, who we saw as the A's fan in his debut a couple months ago. Jacob Mizorowski, of course, as well, too. It feels like he will end up getting this one. But as of right now, I will go Chad Patrick. It's a boring pick right now because Chad Patrick isn't super exciting. He's just a mid 3.5 ERA type guy, which is good. It's definitely serviceable, but it's not like an ace or anything like that. And just to show you that wins and losses don't matter, it's a 3-7 record right now for him, which is funny to see. Yeah. Even for a good Milwaukee Brewers team as well, too. That just shows what their offense is usually. But Chad Patrick, and a rookie of the year so far. Yeah. On to the managers of the year on the AL side. This one feels like a layup to me.
Well, maybe this is just me again, but I'm going Kevin Cash. Sorry, Dan Wilson. and others. It's been a good run, but Tampa Bay has no home, and they're a game behind the Yankees. This should not be possible. Tigers fans, you should be stoked for what AJ Hinch has done for you, but that's not really how I interpret this award. So he'll probably win it, but I'm at least for a mid-season type award, I'm going to look elsewhere.
I'm going AJ Hinch. This one feels easy to me. I know they have Tariq Skubal, the best pitcher in baseball. I know they have Riley Green, who is a star in himself, and they got some other guys around their team that I guess you could consider stars. But this doesn't feel like the team that would have the best record in baseball, and yet they are. And they post one of the best run differentials in all of baseball. That's something that they've done the entire year. They've pitched well. They've hit well. It's just a really well-run ball club, and I believe that starts with their manager, AJ Hinch, and the playoff run last year, coming out of nowhere, the whole gritty Tiggs thing. It's AJ Hinch, man. He's the madman behind it all, and AJ Hinch, AL Manager of the Year. On to the NL side.
All right. NL, I'm not going to mess around. I've had Craig Counsell for a while. It may feel like beating a dead horse at this point, but I'm not going to have voter fatigue over here with this one. The Cubs have had their fair share of injuries, other issues. They're still in first place. They got a couple of MVP candidates, so pretty great job over there. I don't know. Maybe the AL just feels like it's not really set yet for me. Maybe that's why I keep reaching for something.
I think I had Craig Counsell on my first check-in for this. But when there is a roster that is only 2 games behind the Cubs, that doesn't have multiple MVP candidates, is relying on multiple rookie starting pitchers, dealing with a rough offense, and still finding a way to win games, I'm going Pat Murphy to go back-to-back in the NL Manager of the Year award. And I know it's not an award that we see like a guy win year after year. That's just not how coaches or Manager of the Year award works. But I think Pat Murphy deserves to go back-to-back on this one because they, again, lost players and somehow are better again.
You believe in the Counsell curse.
That's fair. Moving on to our relievers of the year, starting off with the AL side.
I'm going to stick with Andres Munoz. This is going to be a real tight race with Josh Hader all season long, but I feel like I owe it to Munoz for his ridiculously hot start. 1.16 ERA and 30-plus innings. It doesn't get much better than that, and he's not left-handed.
Yeah. My AL reliever of the year is going to be Josh Hader, and the 1.76 ERA or 6.7 ERA is cool, but the 23 for 23 saves is really badass, and it's even more badass knowing that you had a rookie first baseman that hit a walk-off homer against him a couple weeks ago. But back to main point, 57 Ks and 37 and 2/3 innings pitched. Usually, what we see with relievers as well too is they get in trouble with walks. Not Josh Hader, only 7 walks. Only 7 total earned runs this season. Josh Hader's been amazing, as he has been for the past 10 years now at this point. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
On to the NL reliever of the year.
I want to shout out Robert Suarez. I feel like we've been talking about him for this award as an honorable mention for a while now, but I'm switching back to Edwin Diaz. Just like that, he's got some of the better numbers of his career already. Sub-2 ERA in July. That's pretty good. Wow. Brandon Lau. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Edwin Diaz over Robert Suarez. But, again, this is another one that seems like it's pretty wide open. We'll see. You can always give up a grand slam in Miami and lose it.
True. Pretty interesting reward, I think, on the NL side. I don't think it's as I think Josh Hader and Munoz would win in both leagues, is what I'm trying to say. And on the NL side, it's not as top-heavy. It's kind of like the NL MVP compared to the AL MVP as well, too. Suarez now posting a 3.9 ERA, I think, falls a bit out for me. So I do go Edwin Diaz. Under 2 ERAs, 16 out of 17 on saves, 46 strikeouts, and 31 and 2/3 innings pitched. And he's been the most efficient out of any NL closer, it looks like. So Edwin Diaz wins my NL reliever of the year at the midpoint check-in. Now moving on to if the season ended today, playoff predictions, because that's always fun. As things stand right now, let me just pull them up so we can make sure that we're accurate here. In the AL, it's one seeded Detroit, two seeded Houston, three seeded New York Yankees. Those are the division winners as of right now. And then the wild card goes four seed Rays, five seed Blue Jays, and six seeded Mariners. With the Angels, Red Sox, and Guardians just being out on that side. And then on the NL, it's the Dodgers 1, Phillies 2, Cubs 3, as division winners. And a wild card goes Mets 4, Brewers 5, Cardinals 6, with the Padres, Giants, and Reds just out of it on the NL wild card side. So we'll get into that AL wild card. Starting off with the 6-3 matchup on the AL side with Seattle going to the Bronx.
Yeah,
three-game set.
We've been there. We've been in this exact situation, and it doesn't matter who's pitching for you. When you go to the Bronx, that lineup is going to get to you, man. So that's why I have the Yankees sweeping them. The Mariners are just a little more incomplete of a team, in my opinion, to be ready to fight in the playoffs.
I think the Mariners can get one. Something that I enjoy about the Mariners, they've said it, of course, like they are well equipped for a playoff series because it's even if two of the three guys that you are starting have had rough years, Logan Gilbert, Brian Wu are still a stud duo, and I think they get one of those games. But the Yankees are deep, their offense is better, and their bullpen's better a little bit as well too. Even though the Mariners bullpen is pretty damn good as well too. So I'll go Yankees in 3 games, which doesn't happen often in the wild card series. Now on to the 5-4 divisional matchup. I guess this is in George Steinbrenner Field, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
But 5-seeded Toronto versus 4-seeded Tampa Bay.
Yeah, despite Tampa Bay not playing very well in that stadium, I'm going to give them the win in 3 games because I think at the moment they got the better big 3 rotation, and that seems to be the biggest thing in this round of the playoffs. Maybe if Toronto, if they call up Trey Savage and he has some sort of Jacob Mizorowski type heat behind him, maybe things could change here, but I'm not really a Toronto believer at the moment.
Toronto's interesting because they feel like decent at pretty much everything, but not great at anything. Tampa Bay is kind of the same way, although they do feel to be a bit better on the pitching side. And I think that's where they get them. I have Tampa Bay winning in 3 games. I don't think we see, a crazy 8-inning start from any of these guys on Tampa Bay. But a lot of guys that you can trust to get 5 solid innings and then a bullpen of hell to face in the Tampa Bay Rays. So Tampa in 3. Now on to the NL wildcard side. Divisional matchup, fun divisional matchup. The St. Louis Cardinals go to the Chicago Cubs Wrigley for a set here.
Yeah, the Cardinals actually did get him recently in a series, but there were a couple rainouts. Maybe it wasn't complete. So I'm going to stick with the Cubbies. Pitching is an issue for these guys right now, but I don't think St. Louis could keep up with them in a 3-game series. I think all you got to do is score more than 5 runs in 2 out of 3 of the games, and you're set.
I also have the Cubs winning. I have them winning in 2 here. If there's one team that could have beat Sonny Gray this past week, it probably would have been the Cubs. I expect the Cubs also to be aggressive to add a starter at the deadline as well, too. They got the ability to add one with their depth in the minor league system. So if it's Shota for game 1, Tyon or Boyd for game 3, and the guy that you trade in game 2, I think the Cubs are going to be fine regardless. So Cubs in 2. Now a rematch of last year's NL wildcard matchup, 5-seeded Milwaukee Brewers versus the 4-seeded Mets. So it's a different location for this one. How does that play out?
Yeah, I'm still repping the Brew Crew in this one, what the Mets have done recently. And again, this may be a completely different team after the All-Star break. You never know who gets traded over there. They got a lot of cash, but I don't trust the pitching staff. Milwaukee, they are young, but hey, we saw a really young Arizona rotation go all the way to the World Series a couple years ago, and I think they could do something similar. Dude, even Christian Yelich is on fire right now. We thought he was, a goner, at least when it comes to hitting in meaningful moments. So I'm definitely back on page with the Brew Crew.
Fun series here. Two teams that have similar like runs scored, runs allowed numbers right now, but I feel like they're completely different in their makeup. Um, I just trust the Mets a little bit more, especially when it comes to their bats. As far as makeup goes, like they've had the pedigree of having big hits in the past as well too. And I know the Brewers had some fun homers in the wild card series last year, but Lindor's had big moments. Soto's had big moments. Alonso's obviously had big moments, and I also trust the Mets to get another guy in the rotation and just to be have a higher plethora of arms at some points in this series as well too. So I'll go with the Mets in 3. On to the ALDS. I think our AL side is pretty scratch here. 3-seeded New York Yankees going back to their old hell house in the ALDS versus the Houston Astros.
Yeah, man. I went back and forth a couple times on this one. I think either way, if we get 5 games, I'll be happy. I ended up switching it finally to the Yankees for the first time. They're going to beat them on the road in this situation in that last game. That's Jesus, this is going to be crazy if this happens. But I just feel like the lack of superstar power in the Astros lineup is going to finally get to them. They haven't gone that far in the playoffs without guys like Springer, Correa. Yeah.
If there's one team that can handle the Yankees, despite not being the more superior roster, it's the Houston Astros. They just have the whereabouts in their brain to beat them and make them doubt how good they are. And I think the Astros get them here in 5 games. A fun series, but they got the ability to take them deep in a series. And Hunter Brown, the ace, Framber Valdez is your 2. I know Houston's kind of searching for a real 3-starter in this spot, but I got Houston in 5 as Max Muncy just takes one over the wall to tap the game.
Saw that.
Cool. On to Tampa versus Detroit, 4-1.
Yeah, this one is probably not going to go as long as a Houston Yankee series would go. I think Detroit is going to be perfectly fine at home, and then they'll take the last one in Tampa. So 3-1, 4 games. Maybe Tampa gets one on a bullpen start game for Detroit, but they're not beating Scooble. No shot.
I think it's a fun chess match. I will say that. But in game 1, it's just pitch Scooble till his arm falls off. And I think the options that Detroit can go to and the offense that they have is superior to Tampa in every single way. So I got Detroit in 3 games in this one as they move on to the ALCS. On to the NLDS side, I have the Cubs versus the Dodgers here, 3-1. I believe that's what you have. Wait, no, did I do it backwards here?
I have Cubs Phils.
Cubs Phils. Okay, yeah. So it's Cubs Phillies. Yeah, I'll just have to do it because I messed it up. But
see, this is why I use the website because I did that last year, I think, and I had to redo my whole thing like in the moment.
I just saw it right now, and I realized I was messed up. So I have Cubs Phillies and Mets Dodgers. All right. So I'll be figuring out as we go, I guess. But
okay.
How does a Cubs Phillies matchup play out?
Yeah, I'm loving the home team in every single game in the series, and that's I think the only time I've done that in this exercise today. So that's going to have Philly winning Game 5 at home, Citizens Bank, Red October, all of that. The Cubbies just don't really have an ace, man, and you kind of need one to win a playoff series like this.
Cubs Phillies is a fun matchup. Looking at it, the pitching definitely is a problem for the Cubs here. I don't think they have any way that they could match, even if Nola is out long term, a Wheeler, Luzardo, Sanchez, Suarez top 4. And then if you want to go Abel or even Painter maybe as your 5, or you don't really even need a 5-starter in the playoffs. But I think that really plays into Philly's hands. Maybe the bullpen could struggle for them, but I assume Philly, after last year, they will be aggressive in adding at the deadline. So I'll go Philly in 4. I don't think the Cubs can keep up with that. Now on to you have the Brewers versus the Dodgers, right?
Yeah.
I have the Mets versus the Dodgers. How do you have that one going?
Mine will probably be much shorter. Love Milwaukee. They're going to grind it out. They're going to win one at home. But other than that, I got the Dodgers in 4 here.
So I have the
I
Mets
didn't give you a
versus
bunch
the.
of time. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm still figuring my stuff out. Dodgers pitching obviously is going to be hurt regardless. They should be able to get back maybe Snell and Glasnow by that point, which should be cool. I don't know what their capacity will look like, but Shohei should be built up to, making full starts at that point. I'll go Dodgers in 5 games. I do think the Mets have the Octoberness to them where they could just find a way to stick around and get hot at the right time. But I'll go the Dodgers in 5 games, beating the Mets again in the playoff matchup. And then in the ALCS, you have
Detroit
the Yankees versus the Yankees. I have Houston versus Detroit. How do you have that playing out?
I think this would be an awesome series. Of course, it reminds us a lot of last season, Yankees Cleveland. This time, though, Detroit's got home field advantage. And you know what, dude? I'm going to take them in 7 games to beat the Yankees. I just try to compare it to past seasons and, years where Cleveland is up in a clutch spot with, say, a guy like Big Christmas. Compare that to Riley Green and Torkelson. That's a massive difference here, especially against the Yankees' older pitching staff. Who knows who's still kicking there in October?
So I have Houston versus Detroit. We actually saw this series very briefly last year in the wild card round where Detroit surprisingly won both games and took the series right away. I think that was the indicator that Tigers don't care about what you did in the past. This is the gritty Tigs that come out in October. And I think we see them take the series. This will be a series that School gets to start 2 or 3 games if they really need to. Jack Flaherty's there as well too. Now at this point, Casey Mize has been good. It's not just a one man rotation anymore in Detroit. They got arms. They got the ability to go to different guys. And so I think they match Houston in that aspect, and their offense is just better than them. It's really not close offensive wise. So Detroit in 6. I do think it ends up being a good series, but Detroit gets to the World Series for the first time since the 2010s. Then in the NLCS, do you have Philly versus the Dodgers?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I got that as well too. Who goes to the World Series in the NL?
This is going to be the best series of the postseason, 7 games. I do think, though, the Dodgers are more likely to steal one on the road. That's going to help them out, even if they are destroyed in their rotation again. But I imagine, like you said earlier, Shohei will be throwing some more innings by then. I don't know if they'll be able to get a rule in where he could be relieving games in the postseason. It just doesn't seem like it can happen in time. But Dodgers lineup just they've come through nonstop for 3 straight years. Other than like picking up a few guys like Teoscar, it's the same guys, and they always come through. And these guys are postseason legends now. So I'm going to take them to beat the Phillies. Unfortunately, even though last time we did this, I think we both had the Dodgers losing. Can't do it.
This definitely feels like a matchup that I would say that the Dodgers win more often than they don't. I just think in this specific instance, they don't. The Phillies have the better starting staff. They have the more certainties right now, pitching wise, than what the Dodgers do. And the big 3 for the Dodgers has really just been the big 2 this year, even though Will Smith has been amazing and they've gotten great contributions from Teoscar and Andy Pages, but Mookie Betts hasn't been Mookie Betts. And I think the Phillies have more assurances throughout their team that I would be okay with taking them and them losing than it being the other way around. So I'll go Phillies in 7, setting up a Detroit versus Philly World Series for me. Your World Series matchup is, and who do you have winning the MVP?
Yeah, this one is going to be the 2-1 seeds. It's tough, right? We just spend a lot of time doing power rankings. So these are the 2 teams that we're the most familiar with, I guess. In your matchup, I think Detroit has a really good shot there. Unfortunately for them, I only have them winning games 1 and 5, Tarek Skubal. Other than that, the Dodgers are going to get them in 6. MVP, we will give it to Mookie Betts this time around.
Okay. I think that's who I had as my first pick to win MVP when we first did our stuff before the season started. But my World Series, Detroit versus Philly. I think Detroit versus Philly also gives off like that old 2000s type of vibe, just teams, which is fun for us when we grew up. But I think this is, even though they played Houston prior, this is the first time where Tariq Skubal starting might not be an automatic win for you because you're facing Zach Wheeler. And if you take out Detroit in game one, even in Detroit, like that's sending oh shit in the troops. Like it's going to be rough to come back from that when you know that you got Suarez and Sanchez and Lazardo to face in coming games, and then back to Wheeler. It's going to be tough for Detroit to score runs. I trust the Phillies offense to beat good pitching more than I trust the Detroit offense to beat good pitching, even though I just kind of glazed Detroit's lineup earlier for being able to do that in the opposite fashion. I think Philly gets it done here. I think Bryce Harper finally gets his ring, which would be a cool thing to watch. And Phillies in 6, World Series MVP, Trey Turner, because of the moments that he had in the World Baseball Classic before he can do it again.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I know winners on both sides for us. Maybe that means the AL sucks. Maybe not. Who knows? I do think the AL feels less juggernauty. Maybe the Tigers are starting to get there as far as the juggernaut goes, but
it's definitely more wild cardy.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Anyways, moving into the second half, I couldn't find a good word for that. But crazy NBA stuff going on, Skyler. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I pretty much just put down a list of all the important stuff that's happened this week, some of the guys that have changed teams. So let's get right into it. One of the biggest trades of the offseason so far, we got Cam Johnson going to Denver, teaming up with Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., and a first-round pick way into the future, I think 2032 maybe, going back to Brooklyn. We knew that Cam Johnson was potentially going to be moved for a while now. They ended up trying to get the best player back, it looks like, with Michael Porter Jr. Maybe they'll try to – I don't know, dude. If I'm Michael Porter, I'm a little disappointed. I mean, who's going to pass me the rock? Igor Demon? So –
you get to shoot all day, though.
I'm excited to see Denver, though, for sure, with the kind of a better all-around player in the mix now instead of Michael Porter, maybe just a corner three guy at the age he is. Anyways, let's get through the hypotheticals because this was a crazy one. Damian Lillard waived. He's done. We saw he tore his Achilles in the playoffs. And now he's gone. Milwaukee decided they don't want to wait for him anymore. They're just going to buy out his contract. He's free to sign. I don't know if he will yet. Maybe this is a situation where he signs a 3-year hella cheap with the Lakers or something, and we just wait 2 years for him. Or maybe he retires. Yeah.
My feeling with Dame is that he doesn't sign. Like he just works out independently and recovers and whatnot. And then once he gets down to the playoffs next year, where he's maybe has the ability to come back, a team that he just waits to sign until then, and does a 1-year deal next year, and then after that, if he's still going good, either retires or signs a long-term deal after that if he really wants to.
That's a good point. We saw Kyrie did the complete opposite. Maybe that's why that was in my head. There's a reason Milwaukee did this. They had to make room for somebody, and they upset their star Giannis pretty badly. But I think in the end, it's not going to be the worst move. Miles Turner, new center in Milwaukee. This is a guy we've been talking about trade rumors for 10 plus years, and then finally he's in a spot that we think he's going to retire as a Pacer, and then he leaves. Signs a massive deal, 4 years to Milwaukee. That's going to be an interesting one. We got to wait and see the Giannis aftermath, though, before we talk about how much is this guy going to get the ball. So we don't know.
Definitely brushed my teeth when I saw it this morning, and that was oh shit, that's got some
that's weird
repercussions to it. But NBA offseason, man.
Mm-hmm. The next one is a move that was made by Memphis, a team that we talked about for trading their best shooter away, and I joked about them not having any shooting. Well, they go out and spend all their money on Ty Jerome. So it's obviously not a bad fit. They need a good shooter, but I like Ty Jerome a lot more when he's playing 18 minutes a game, not 35. So I'm a
Yeah,
little cautious here.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, the next one, a couple of bench moves here for Atlanta. They're going to get Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Luke Kennard. Another team, they have so much size, but outside of Trae Young, not a lot of spot-up shooting. So here are two guys that can take a bunch of jumpers for you for not that bad. Nickeil Alexander-Walker got paid, but not too bad for Luke Kennard, which that's the one you can't mess up on. Alexander-Walker you can live with, I think, at least. So watch out for Atlanta.
I like the moves Atlanta's made. They've done well this offseason. Are they a contender in the East?
Top 6 they're shooting for.
Yeah. We'll see. But I don't know. Maybe something big happening on in the background. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. This team, the Clippers, are not really in the background. They're always up in the front for bringing in old guys. And here's another one. Here's Brook Lopez to the Clippers. I was pretty shocked when I saw this. I thought we were headed towards the Lakers or maybe retirement with this guy. They already have Zubats, so this is a little confusing to me, Kyle, but it's not a lot of money.
Yeah. I don't think the financial commitment was too frightening on either aspect.
Yeah. Another big man who got way more money than Brook Lopez, Clint Capella, going back home to the Rockets. Another, you can live with this one, even though they already have Şengün. I get what they're doing. They're trying to build OKC 2.0. This is going to be their Hartenstein this season. I get what they're doing. I just don't know if this is the right guy.
It doesn't make sense to me because they have Steven Adams too.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
trade him to the Warriors.
I could see it beginning to make more sense if Houston's like, okay, let's do something crazy. Let's go Jabari and Alperen or I guess they can't really trade Jabari now at this point with his deal, but
speak Şengün.
They try to get Giannis, Şengün, and Thompson and some other stuff for Giannis. I feel like that could be possible. Probable, no, but possible. Because that's the only way I really see this like somewhat making sense. I don't know why they would put that much money when you could probably go get a vet minimum guy in a couple months from now and play him 15 minutes like you're going to play Capella.
Yeah, for sure. We'll keep an eye on Houston. They obviously have a lot of momentum. We'll see if all these big money moves pay off. There's one more I want to talk about. Kind of a sad one. Actually, I forgot SGA got a big extension, but that's no shocker there. I mean, he just ran the table on the whole league and won the title. Kevon Looney, trusty Warriors big man, is now leaving for the first time in a long time. He's going to the Pels, and I'm really sad because now the only center on the roster is Quentin Post. I've tried to do the math. It seems like the only guy they could actually trade for is like Nikola Vucevic, but at that point, what are we doing, man?
Yeah, it sucks. Looney leaving, of course. I definitely think his return will be cool when we get to see him play back in Chase Center for the first time. I think Willie Green probably had something to do with this. Former Warrior staffer. Yeah. Now they have Jordan Poole as well too, so maybe they're trying to build something there.
Give us Giannis. I mean, Zion. Jesus. Giannis on the brain.
I'd be cool with Giannis a little too, but I guess good for New Orleans. I don't know if I'd say good for Looney, but I guess good for New Orleans.
At least they have guys that are healthy.
Yeah, that's true. That's what he is.
Well, all right. I'm sure as soon as we log off, someone's going to get traded. So that's just how it goes, man. But these are the big things I wanted to make sure we at least talked a little bit about. Yeah,
blockbuster coming tonight, that's for sure. Anyway, this week for our layups bowl predictions as we get into that, or last week, we we did pretty good. We went 3 for 4. I had Milwaukee over Pittsburgh on Wednesday. That was that Mrozowski versus Skeens start. Skeens kind of got roughed up, like I mentioned, but Milwaukee gets the win there, which is green for me. Skyler had Seattle over Texas on Friday. That went green as well, too. I believe that was that the extra inning game?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that one goes green for Skyler. This week I have St. Louis over Pittsburgh on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. That's Sonny Gray's first start since the crazy shutout that he pitched this past weekend versus Mitch Keller. Mitch Keller has had a lot of good starts this year, and his record's like 1-10, 1-11, whatever now at this point. They just don't give him run support, and a guy that they probably won't score much against is the Cardinals. So, or is Sonny Gray. So I got the Cardinals winning that one.
Okay. I'm going with the matchup we just talked about a couple of minutes ago. That's the Cubs and the Cardinals on Friday night. This time, like I said, with the playoff matchup, if it's at Wrigley Field and Miles Mikolas is pitching and you don't really trust him against the Cubbies lineup, then you're taking Colin Rea in that lineup all day long.
Moving on to bold predictions. Last week, I had Washington Nationals over the Padres on Wednesday. That did not happen, unfortunately. Skyler had the Padres over Cincinnati on Saturday. That was not the game that they almost got no hit. So Skyler goes green there as we go 3 for 4 this past week on bets. This week, I have a fun one. There's 3 doubleheaders tomorrow. It's the Tigers and Nationals, which is opener versus Trevor Williams and Flaherty versus Mackenzie Gore. Then we have the Padres and Phillies, Pivetta versus Abel, and Cease versus Sanchez. And then we have the Brewers and the Mets, Peralta and Holmes versus Mizorowski and Tidwell. I say all 3 doubleheaders split. So maybe that's a boring pick. Maybe that would be the favorited thing. I don't think so. I think one of them probably getting a sweep would be a thing. I don't think that's something that you could bet on, but that's my bold prediction.
You just got to hope one of those teams that loses the first game doesn't go, whatever, let's throw Kike Hernandez out there in the 4th inning. That would be the only thing that wrecks you. I'm going with something that people who are obsessed with baseball are going to love this game, because imagine this pitching matchup 7 years ago. Mike Soroka versus Lucas Giolito. I'm going with Washington to beat Boston. Boston's been such a complete disaster that I'm okay picking against them again. Mike Soroka, I saw Pitching Ninja. I sent it to you too, through one of the nastiest slurs I've ever seen. Hey, man, he may walk a lot of guys, but he's got really nasty stuff, and Boston's not really seeing nasty stuff at the moment. So I'll take Washington to beat them Friday night.
Yeah, Boston's not seeing any stuff right now. No. That's for sure. But that'll do it for episode 251. Next week, 252. Probably go over more of this NBA stuff in depth and really give our takes on most of it. We'll know the starters for the MLB All-Star Game, which would be cool. Maybe trade season starts for that as we get to July as well now, too.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about the NFL moves that we've seen, because we got some crazy deals and stuff going on within the NFL the past few days. And I mean, those are our sports. So that seems like what we'll talk about.
9 weeks until the NFL season.
That's cool.
We're getting there. And college football 26. Don't you worry, Kyle. I revamped my official dynasty rules. So we'll do something similar with like a weighted. We don't need to do this on the podcast. What am I doing?
But we also got college basketball. Not coming out, but announced, which will be kind of cool. That's back. Hopefully college baseball returns in the future as well, too. Budget on that game will probably be a bit less, but those games were always fun when we were growing up, and they'll probably be even crazier now with this stuff.
On the right track, that's for sure. All right, Kyle. I'll see you next week. Let's go A's. Let's go get a win at Georgia Steinbrenner Field, man. And it's not in February.
Let's go win a series. This has got to be our first time playing at
That's
Georgia.
True. We play in the Cactus League, of course.
So making history here for the A's.
All right. See you next week.